श्री श्री आनंदमयी मात की जय. On a Monday, 7 days after Diksha, I sat down as part of my domestic routine for the morning prayers. There was no significant sign of any Kriya. After performing a few rites, I got up, but as my limbs were unsteady, as if in a state of intoxication, I started the day's cooking while being seated. After everyone finished lunch, I sat down again to do the Sandhya. During the day, while at puja, I usually kept the door partly closed. After a while, Bholanath and Nishi Babu, my maternal cousin, entered the room. I continued to sit veiled and absorbed in puja. Nishi Babu said to Bholanath, "Don't you say anything? Indulging in such rites before initiation is not good. Why don't you ask her what she is doing sitting like this?" So saying, he left the room, but then returned and said to Bholanath, "Ask her what she is doing." By then, the yogic kriyas had begun, and I kept sitting in the same absorbed manner. My cousin was unaware of the kriyas taking place in my body, and while sitting on my right with Bholanath, he kept urging, "Go on, ask her." This body heard this clearly, and then suddenly, without changing position, I turned my head towards them and said, "What is it that you want to ask?" So loudly and forcefully had I spoken, and such was my demeanor, that it startled and frightened Nishi Babu, who drew back hurriedly and with folded hands asked in awed voice, "Who are you?" But in that instant, this body had returned to her calm and smiling self, saying, "What are you frightened? No, no, do not fear, do not fear, do not fear." And the right hand went up, forming an Abhay Mudra, gesture of protection and reassurance. After this, the body, while sitting in the same asana, turned from a north-facing to an east-facing position. My cousin was older than me, and I called him Thakur Bhai. According to the prevalent norms, I never spoke to Bholanath in his presence and always kept myself carefully veiled. However, at that moment, my sense of modesty seemed to have been blown away like the wind blowing clothes, and I was hardly aware that my clothes were in fact in a state of disarray. This body seemed to be observing herself from the outside as if she were a different entity. When Thakur Bhai and Bholanath asked, "Who are you?" slowly the words emerged, "Purna Brahma Narayana," with the two of them earnestly discussing between themselves whether or not a feminine form should be Narayani, and they repeatedly asking me, "Who are you?" The words came out one after another, "Mahadev, Mahadevi, Narayan, Narayani," and so on. Bholanath asked me, "If you are indeed Purna Brahma Narayana and all else that you say you are, why are you speaking in this unnatural manner?" The answer came, "At present, this body appears to be in a human form as perceived by you, so the behavior is in accordance with that." Again, Bholanath asked, "What were you doing?" To which I responded, "I was engaged in Sandhya Puja." Bholanath objected, "But you have not been initiated." Again the answer came, "From your point of view, that occurred on the night of the last Jhulan Purnima." Bholanath then queried, "Who am I?" The answer came, "You are that Mahadev." "When will I have my initiation?" The answer came, "In the month of Agrahayan." Bholanath asked, "On which date?" The answer came, "On the 15th." All the details were given in answer to his questions. Both Thakur Bhai and Bholanath then asked, "Who will give the initiation?" This body pointed to herself, saying, "I." They then consulted an almanac to find that it not only corroborated these details, but that it was also a very auspicious day for initiation. The two of them again consulted one another, and Bholanath asked, "Well, tell us, what will be the star on that day?" The answer to that too came out instantly, but since he was not conversant with the names of all the stars, Bholanath did not quite grasp it. So the words then came out, "Janki Babu, who lives next door, has not yet left for work. Go and ask him." They were still debating whether or not to fetch him when this body made as if to go herself, saying, "So shall I call in Janki Babu?" Fearing that she would go out as she was, with her clothes in such disarray, hastened out and brought Janki Babu back with him. On his arrival, Janki Babu confirmed that the star she had named Rohini was correct. Hours went by while the three of them discussed, deliberated, and asked questions. At one time, they asked this body, "What is the Rohini star?" The answer given was, "Whoever Rohini is, I am the same." Janki Babu asked once again, "Who are you?" Slowly and calmly came the reply, "Purna Brahma Narayan." Janki Babu then said, "You are Shaitan, the devil." Much later he repeated, "You are Shaitan, Shaitani, female devil." This body then started laughing aloud and uttered the words, "What I have said is correct. Whatever you may all say, you are just testing me." Then they said, "What is the proof that you are indeed Purna Brahma Narayan? You want to see?" On speaking these words, a wonderful change came over this body. Thakur Bhai and Janki Babu continued to talk earnestly some distance away. This body asked Bholanath to come and sit nearby, and when he did, while reciting a mantra, she touched the crown of his head with her hand. Immediately, with the sound of Om on his lips, Bholanath became absolutely motionless while sitting in an asana on the ground. Having lost all sense of outside world, he sat with eyes upturned and half opened, so totally motionless that Ashu, returning from school and finding him in that state for quite some time, started crying. This body sat quietly and amusedly observed these events. Thakur Bhai consulted Janki Babu. Soon Janki Babu came up to me in an agitated manner, saying, "Now please bring Ramani Babu, Bholanath, back to a normal state. We beseech you." A little later, this body once again touched Bholanath on the crown of his head, and gradually he more or less returned to the condition that they desired. Bholanath said, "I cannot describe where and in what a blissful state I was all this time." The day was drawing to an end, and donning once again the sense of modesty and arranging her clothes, this body reverted to her household duties. श्री श्री आनंदमयी मात की जय।